And today we're delving into the pages of Ways of Being Born, and it takes us into the history of birth in Africa. But it becomes so much more than that, because it asks us to reconsider what we think about intimately, how we enter the world. It asks us to look again at the role of the mother, midwife, the hospital, the elder, the placenta, the rituals, and then ultimately also ourselves. Because perhaps the most powerful message is that reclaiming your knowledge does not necessarily mean that you're rejecting modern medicine. But the author takes us through her own journey of unlearning, of remembering, of reclaiming, and helps us to remember that there's more than one way of knowing. Now, Dr. Mmatshilo Motsei now joins us here to unpack this offering further. A very good morning, and thank you for your time with us.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
I was telling you offline, I couldn't stop reading the book. I was telling everyone around me about the insights, because you reminded us of the sacred wisdom and what we know at an essential level, right? And I just want to say thank you for that. It starts off with the use of language, which I appreciated so much. The context, the translations that you go into, it really plays an intimate part of the essence of the book. Tradition versus indigenous and wife, and the terms that have been used as well. Maybe you can tell us about the interpretations on that front, your very own name and the meaning of it, reminding us of the truth.
Okay, Mmatshilo comes from Tshilo.
Yes.
Tshilo is the grinding stone.
Yes.
So I'm the mother of the grinding stone.
Yes.
And I always say that in the early stages of my life, maybe I used to grind everything from rage, you know. So now I know that I'm grounding for people's livelihood,
Yes.
for people's sustenance.
Yes.
In my work now, both as a birth justice advocate and a healer, I know that my grounding now is different.
Yes.
So I was named after two old women. So the thing about the name that we are asked to respond to, there's a proverb in Setswana that says, Lina Leaborello, meaning that the name that you respond to is often, it often determines your path in life. Yeah.
And I mean, you've interacted with many of our elders and
Yes.
leaders as well. They've initiated some of the names. Other names, Vezogushe was from Babkwido Mutswa.
Yes.
You had Me Kebe Lediwang
Yeah.
in the Northern Cape that
Yes.
also said actually your name converges, and
Yeah.
it's a soul interpretation as well. This becomes important because we're obviously looking at your introduction into Western medicine and the role that that played in your ongoing journey as well. When did you realize that something was missing in that education?
Well, I started to train as a midwife as a
Yes.
young woman. And by that time, my brain was like a sponge. You know, you absorb what you are told.
Yes.
And the thing about the biomedical system is that it teaches us to be, you know, can look down upon our own knowledges. One of the things that I say that I wonder what kind of a birth worker would I have become if I worked in the hospital and part of my practicals was to go and sit at the feet of an indigenous midwife and an elder at the time, so that I combine the two knowledges. Many years later, many decades later, I went to the same geographical area where I was kind of colonized, so to speak. I went to the same geographical area to sit now at the feet of elders and learn about indigenous birthing. But I need to say that I have experienced that in my own life. Yes. I have three kids, and my aunt, who has passed on the gift of healing to me, always came whenever I gave birth. It doesn't matter where I was. She always drove all the way to where I was to come and do the first bath and the rituals.
Yes.
But I think maybe the seed was planted there, you know, in my own experience. And that's why I went to dig deeper and find more information.
So this book, was it a great return for you of sorts? And I'm asking this because we're looking at the cost of birth.
Yeah.
And there's trauma, there's displacement, there's the placenta connecting us to the land.
Yeah.
Becomes such a deeper political nuanced conversation as well.
Yeah. I mean, it would be interesting that when you draft a birth plan with an obstetrician or a midwife, one of the key questions should be, do you want to take the placenta home? That's one of the key questions.
And I mean, because there's spiritual connotations and also just connecting people back to the land, which was a ritual practice that happened pre-birth. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit more about your unearthings.
The thing about the placenta, I should say that the biomedical system classify it as medical waste.
Yeah.
And anything that is waste, then you kind of let go of it. Who wants to take waste home? One of the elders who has delivered 9 babies, she's never set foot in a hospital. And I asked her the question, why? And she says, I don't want my kids to be ungrounded. I don't want my kids to be criminals. How do you link crime with a placenta? And her explanation was by planting this placenta in the ground, it's kind of connecting the baby, the new soul that has arrived, with the land and the ancestors of the land. So how many of us know that we are connected to land? So at any point when there is a birth, there is not one birth happening. There's multiple births happening. There's a baby that's been born. There are parents, and I'm moving away from saying the mother, because the father has a critical role to play. So there are parents as well that are being born with a new identity, and then the lineage is being extended. This new arrival is not the beginning of life, but an extension of the lineage. And then when you plant the placenta in the land, then you are connecting with the ancestors and the land.
And the role of ritual also becomes important because there's sound, there's dance, there's rhythms, there's that welcoming into this new world. And that was also something that you say has been lost in translation along the way.
A naming ceremony, for instance.
There we go.
Naming ceremony, early stages. Elders don't give you a name. You kind of are nameless for a few days whilst they're still observing you. Who is this who has come back? Or they also say that the baby cries for the name. Maybe they gave me Mmatshilo, but I'm not supposed to be Mmatshilo. So the elders will determine. In a case where even the father is not known, elders have a way of addressing that as a way of naming ceremony. So naming ceremony and the rituals of taking you out as a baby out of isolation after a certain number of days, taking you to crossroads. And the reason why they take you to crossroads is because they want you never to be kind of intimidated or challenged by challenges in your life, that you should move through crossroads in your entire life, because the first time they took you out of the birthing heart was to take you to a place where the roads are crossing.
And you always have that direction and that clarity of who you are. I wonder if, as we just wrap up, because it's obviously a conversation starter that's you know, adding a perspective on so many vantage points. What did you learn through this experience in terms of the healing you were searching? And in the same breath, what message do you want to impart to women, to potential mothers as well, caregivers, motherly figures, even just paternal, you know, lineage as well, given what you research? You're not denouncing Western knowledge, and you're not also solely advocating for indigenous knowledge. There's that convergence, that crossroads.
What did I learn? I found the colonized and the decolonized midwife inside of me. So part of the healing, and I learned that from reading about a practice in Algeria during birth. They kind of stop the baby for a few seconds so that the soul can experience what it's like to live in both dimensions. And that kind of sent me on a spin-off, total spin-off, and that's when I found the different personalities inside of me. And what I have learned is to harmonize all of them, rather than kind of denouncing, but harmonizing them. So as a midwife, as a birth worker, I'm looking forward to creating spaces where we can bring the two knowledges together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you are reminding us of reading things that have been hidden, and that's in your name. So I'm going to leave the conversation there, and just thank Dr. Mmatshilo Motsei, of course, for joining us here in studio, chatting about her offering Ways of Being Born. It follows a thesis. She's a social scientist, author, midwife. Many hats that she's donning, of course, just looking at that shift in perspective when it comes to birthing and what happens in Africa. Again, thank you for joining us.